Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John's Report for the 15th of October, halfway through the month. We kind of got that flat day we were kind of looking at as we started to see just a little bit of an increase in shorts, flattening of midterm buyers and that, but steady incline from this deal gave enough support through weakness signals to push us into a new zone starting for the day. We're above the 76% and ABM yellow in that, so that could certainly propel things. Well, not the ABM yellow, that's up here at 90. We're above all the other mid-color ranges, green and everything else. Let me just go ahead and put them up while I've got it on here, just so we can be precise. So you have from green 65, 75 magenta, 65 white, and then all the way up to 90 for the yellow, which is what we're going to be pushing towards. And that's been the resistance quite a ways ever since we started to get the real weakness side. Now, yes, we have cyan breaking above green. The momentum of red may be enough to propel that. The critical question is going to be a steel cross below cyan, with orange spiking above. That would be the clearest negative sign. The last time we saw that was right here, and then we kind of saw it right here before we ended up with the big dip that filled in all the ranges. And critical point now is that this continues its rise, because as soon as we start to see a rollover of red DOC, actually, I was looking at it from a 50K standpoint. We were still maintaining a bit of a bullish move. We had the crossover of the steel above, even though they met, rejected. That's going to be some weakness, but it held up quite nicely in this breakdown, because typically right there, you'd be in warning sign, but green started turning up there. We finally crossed back above it, and then this has led to the breakout move that's taking place right here in pre-market, and it's a P3, so we're just in the higher zone. And that's all that means with the X2, meaning we get the crossovers that you look for. Steel, green over red, orange dipping below, green over cyan. It's all in there. It's like boom, just hit me hard with all the good signals. From an NQ standpoint, similar, actually been stronger because it's clear breakthrough there, and actually going to be positive shakeout. So we haven't seen that. So after all of this, muck, which we've loved really, because I think it's been fantastic with the volatility. This month has been spectacular that way. And again, the euro supported enough to keep it in the mid-range here that nobody's going to object to, particularly since despite all of the fanfare, there's still nowhere near on anything with the Brit exit. They just, 15 days left, and it's actually got to be prior to that, because you're going to have a vote and stuff in order for things to happen. So it's really not happening. So that's going to mean an extension, which that will bolster the euro, just because status quo is exactly what everyone's looking for. And oil, status quo as well. And from a gold standpoint, nada, because everything's okay. I had posted this chart back here when we had first got the sell signal. We ended up with a little pressure going against it, got all the way back up to the 77, and then started the cascade lower. That was a beautiful fill in to that previous dip below the red line, which I kind of pointed out. It stopped midway through. We'd have to go way back to right there it was. So this was the one the previous filled from before. We ended up with a little bit of a dip there, and then it came back to it. And that's when we saw this nice signal. And it shows sometimes you can take some heat within that signal and still, but again, you can see again that power of the steel crossing back below cyan with orange moving above it, green below red, and that just led to the cascade, which also created the inverse of that, which was the buy turnaround. And that was a little sketchy because it kept going back and forth. In fact, you had a couple of weak spots right in between there, but it happened right as we started to get rising gold. Came in just after that, and that produced a little bit of the bullish cross right there with the steel going above, and that took us to the peaks. And then you had this nice DOC spread that just didn't do anything. And that was kind of warning in my mind, because I'm like, okay, well, there's some strength built into this. If you're getting a clean sell signal and nothing's happening with it, that's means there's buyers sucking up a lot of that volume, and we weren't able to see any kind of reduction, even when we ended up with these BK signals that came in through. Fine, you had the reset, but we were just in continuation mode until right through here, and then every time we got a little bit of weakness, it was just enough. I mean, we had weak DOC red, but they'll do that intraday when they're trying to acquire larger and larger. That's why we had such small candles. So this was like, oh my gosh, it was paint dry through most of it, and then they waited for the market to close, low volume, so they can just spike the volatility by printing big numbers. And so when everyone wakes up in a little while, we'll be at the highs of the range. So if you were short overnight, they tweaked you, and that's what they love to do. So that's their business. Long or short, they're going to keep doing it if you have narrow stops. So that's why we usually have them outside of our normal ranges that keep you in the game. 5K standpoint though, cyan under red, super bullish right there. We're just getting to the point where we might see a change of that because we're getting a spike of cyan right there, though red is still rising, so it may just fade off a little bit. So all in all, excellent action and pretty decent ranges early on as it flattened out, and now we're getting a new range breakout here. So that's the long and the short of it for right now. We'll talk about it on the Skype chat. If anything super interesting comes up, I will certainly put the charts up. Trade well.